Okay, so it seems like we've almost reached a breaking point in Philly, with Nick Sirianni getting pissed off with reporters in a very interesting press conference where he also fully blamed himself for the Eagles' offensive struggles. Meanwhile, Jason Kelce sounded off while giving his input on what's wrong with the offense, and this star lineman just got surgery and he's expected to miss some time, while this Eagles starter might be making his long-awaited return very soon. Plus, with all the recent struggles, Jalen Hurts keeps being compared to this former Eagles QB, so is it warranted? And finally, Matt Patricia spoke out on his prior beef and current relationship with Darius, and what he said was very eye-opening. So we're going to talk about that and more news in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. Alright, so even with all the recent struggles, diehard Eagles fans are still showing their support for the team, including NBA star Karl Anthony Towns, who showed up to his game versus the Sixers in Philly last night in the Princess Diana Kylie Kelce Kelly green Eagles jacket. And Towns grew up in Jersey and has been an Eagles fan his entire life, so shout out to him for showing love to the Birds, and also shout out to the MVP Joel Embiid for dropping a 50-piece last night, and also Tyrese Maxey and the Sixers for just keeping Philly sports fans sane during this rough stretch for the Eagles. Now, the Eagles are looking to give themselves a spark to get out of that stretch by switching up the jerseys, as they've announced that they will be suiting up in their black jerseys for the first time this season on Christmas Day against the Giants, which I'm definitely excited about because before the Kelly Greens came back, the black jerseys were definitely my favorite, so drop a like down below for the Eagles bringing those back on Christmas. And who knows, maybe it's good luck, considering that the last two times the Eagles wore those jerseys, they put up 34 and 40 points respectively, and with the Eagles offense struggling so much recently, we could definitely use a little bit of that magic. Now, speaking of the offensive struggles, Jason Kelce recently sounded off on that, as in his weekly appearance on WIP Radio, he gave his full analysis on what has been wrong with the offense recently.
I think we are inconsistent. I think, we do some things really well at times, and then we have either, penalties or, turnovers or whatever are really stalling us out. And, teams are forcing us to, take a lot of underneath stuff right now. They're playing a lot of quarters. They're playing really soft coverages, which, kind of have limited some of our big plays. I think that, we've got to find a way, though, to also create explosive plays, especially in the air, even when teams are playing quarters. And, we're doing our best to figure that out and get back to being the offense that we've been in previous years.
So he said there that he believes a lot of the problems come from the fact that the Eagles just haven't been able to generate explosive plays, which is definitely true. I do think that has been a big problem, and he also said defenses are playing them more conservatively and forcing them to take the underneath stuff, so it's been hard to create those plays, but at the end of the day, they still got to find a way to do it. Speaking of explosive plays, it would also help if the Eagles weren't trying to force them. I mean, if the underneath stuff is there, you got to take that, right? I mean, you got to consistently make the defense pay for playing you this conservatively, and then more opportunities for those explosive plays will open up. But from what it seems like, the coaches don't see it this way, and they're coaching Jalen Hurts to keep looking downfield for the big play rather than just taking what the defense is giving him. At least that's what Mark Farzetta said on Jacob Sports.
Jalen Hurts is missing guys that are underneath, and I think he's coached to miss the guys underneath because he's coached to go for the splash play. And what the Eagles are so hypocritical about, or maybe just don't realize, is that they say they go for two things: turnovers and splash plays. Well, if you're forcing the splash play, you know what's probably going to happen? A turnover. Yeah. That has to be a coaching point to Jalen Hurts that he has to overcome, because he's got to be smart enough. I mean, you talk about final say all the time, final say over the roster, final say over the play caller. As the quarterback with the ball in your hands, they're not going to bench you after they made you the franchise quarterback. You have the final say over where that ball goes. And if you have a route underneath, you have to understand game management. He's not an idiot. He understands game management. He should take those opportunities underneath to make sure they're bleeding the clock, having long drives, and give no opportunity for that team to come back.
So I think this is a great take by Farsi. One, I think it helps explain a lot of Jalen's turnover issues this year, and I also think it just shows you that the coaching staff isn't putting the offense in the best position to succeed right now, if this is in fact true. And again, this is something Jalen Hurts must overcome. He's just got to take it upon himself to take what the defense is giving him, which is the short and intermediate passes right now, and if he does that consistently, then the explosive plays should open up more. Now, speaking of Jalen Hurts, can we just acknowledge how ridiculous the amount of hate he's getting is? I mean, sure, after the last game, I personally was critical of him because I thought thought he didn't have his best night, and I also thought he was one of, if not the main reason why the Eagles lost the game, but I'm not taking it too far like many others are. I mean, all of a sudden, after 3 straight losses, people are acting like Hurts isn't that guy anymore. It's been clear that some of the fan base is turning on him right now, and it's not cool considering that just a few weeks ago, this guy was the MVP favorite. Now, Adam Schefter certainly doesn't agree with all the criticism, as on 97.5 The Fanatic, he said it's unfair, and he also said, quote, "I just can't believe some of the Jalen Hurts comments that I've read online. It is unbelievable." And I couldn't agree more with this, especially considering the fact that this week, I've seen a lot of people comparing him to Carson Wentz. Yes, that's right. Carson Wentz. I mean, you got one fan calling the WIP and saying, quote, "We don't want to compare this to Carson Wentz, I get it, but everything about this is the same as Carson Wentz. You could play tapes from 2020 shows on a loop, and if you didn't mention the guy's name, it would be the exact same." And then you have tweets like this from ML Football comparing this Eagles season to the Eagles season after we won the Super Bowl, with the regression from Wentz and Hurts being a main theme. Now, I will say this, has Jalen Hurts looked as good as he did last year? No, of course he hasn't. But that does not mean at all that this is the same situation as Carson Wentz. I mean, for one, you can't even make the argument that this is anywhere near as bad as Carson Wentz looked in 2020, and then looking back at the year after they won the Super Bowl, Wentz that year was 6-7 in his starts compared to Jalen's 10-4 this year, with what I would say is a defense that's honestly performing worse than it did for Wentz that year. Not to mention the fact that Jalen Hurts' mentality is completely different from Wentz's. He's a far better leader than Wentz ever was, and let's not forget the fact that Jalen led the Eagles to a Super Bowl and had one of the best performances ever in the big game, while Carson Wentz has never won a playoff game in his entire career. I mean, what are we doing here, guys? This is ridiculous. We cannot be this reactionary. We just have to be better as a fan base. And no, I'm not saying we can't hold guys accountable. Hurts does not look as good this year, as I said. The turnovers have definitely been a problem, but it's nowhere near the level of regression that we saw from Wentz, so let's stop with all these crazy comparisons, please. Now, that's just my opinion, but what do you guys think? Do the Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz comparisons have any merit? I mean, personally, if I have to choose the main reason for the Eagles' offensive struggles, I'm picking the coaching staff, and Nick Sirianni agrees with that, as he recently took all the blame for the Birds' issues on offense. So don't worry, we're going to get to that and more in just a second here, but real quick, I want to say, if you are enjoying this video or finding it informative in any way, and you're part of the 75% of people that haven't done so already, make sure you go down and subscribe, and also hit the notification bell, really importantly, so you don't miss any other videos just like this. I think that'd be a win-win for the both of us. I mean, I get more people like you watching the videos, and you don't miss any other Eagles updates or coverage just like this. And also, while you're at it, if you are enjoying this video, make sure you drop a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. It helps me out a ton. Now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. Now, during his press conference on Wednesday, Nick Sirianni was asked about why they made a switch to the coaching staff on defense but not on offense, and he went on to explain that they did that because the offensive problems aren't the result of anybody else except for him.
If you look at our offense throughout, it still is in the top 10 category in a lot of the statistical categories where we look at, except for the turnovers and the explosive plays. And we got to do a better job on both of those things. We got to put the players in more positions to create explosive plays. But, you know, make no mistake about it, like, this offense is being run the exact same way the offense was run last year and the year before that. This offense is my offense, right? This is my offense. And so the criticism on the offense, like, I think unfairly goes to Brian. Brian calls the plays. Brian calls the plays. It unfairly goes to Brian. The criticism on this offense should come at me, and because this is my offense. So I was hired to do a job here, but again, it all starts there with me. And so I guess I would, you know, I'm not thinking that a change needs to be made there for multiple reasons, and that's one big one.
Now, I gotta give him credit for taking accountability like that. I mean, he's right for the most part too. This is his offense, and a lot of the issues are his fault. And a lot of the criticism should fall on him. Like he said, he was hired to do a job here, so now he's just gotta do his best to fix these issues. That being said, I'm still not excusing Brian Johnson, because Sirianni's offense looked a whole lot better with Shane Steichen calling the plays than it does with Brian Johnson. But still, again, I do agree that with things like the scheme and play design, a lot of that falls on Sirianni. But like I said, I love his answer to take full accountability and not hold back on himself, and you at least gotta give him that. And we really shouldn't be surprised to see him taking this level of accountability, to be honest, because ever since Sirianni got here back in 2021, one of the Eagles' core values has been accountability, and he actually got pretty fired up on Wednesday and seemed to be a little annoyed at the reporters as he answered a question about how they're holding Jalen Hurts accountable right now.
But is it being told to him in the meeting room that when
I'm going to keep our conversations, like I said to the other guy, I'm going to keep my conversations with the players between me and the players. Accountability is our number 3 core value, and it's only number 3 because it came in that order. Connect, compete, accountability. They're not in any order. So accountability, you could, again, when Chris asked me the question, accountability, I didn't say something to Chris that I'm not saying to you right now. Accountability is the main, one of the main core values we have, and we live by those every single day.
Go ahead, Dave, and then Tim.
Hey, Nick, I think you'd probably agree that the standard hasn't been met on either side.
Yeah, I just said that 2 seconds ago. Go ahead.
Sure, I'm just prefacing the question.
Now, I'm not going to lie, I honestly don't mind Sirianni getting a little bit fired up here, because I just think it shows you how much he cares. I think it shows that there's a sense of urgency right now in that building to get things fixed, and it shows he's pissed off right now about how things are going. And the question, if you go back and listen to it, it was not the greatest question in the world, so that's just my opinion. You guys can let me know what you think about it down in the comments, but it sounds to me like Sirianni's a little pissed, and he knows the issues, and now it's just about going and fixing them, and the question is, will they be able to do it? Now, the task of fixing the offense got even harder when the report came out that star offensive lineman Landon Dickerson got thumb surgery on Wednesday, and he will miss the game Monday against the New York Giants. And this definitely hurts because Dickerson is among the best players in the league at his position. He's first in run block win rate and third in pass block win rate among all guards this year. So again, it'll definitely hurt not having him. But the good news is he's not expected to miss too much time, and he should be back before the end of the regular season, so let's hope he has a speedy recovery. But then in much more promising injury news, the Eagles officially activated Avonte Maddox's 21-day practice window, so it seems like his return could come before the end of the regular season, which is definitely great news. As I've talked about in previous videos, I think this Eagles defense sorely misses Maddox's presence, his speed, his physicality, his hustle, and overall Maddox is just a great player, so getting him back would be huge for this defense. So drop a like down below for Maddox's potential return. Now lastly, I do want to talk about the Eagles' new defensive play caller, Matt Patricia, who I think did a pretty good job in his debut in this new role. In the Seahawks game, I thought the defensive play calling looked a lot more aggressive at times, which I like to see. I think some of the Eagles personnel was also utilized a little bit better and in more creative ways, which paid off, and I think overall they just played a lot better. Now, definitely wasn't perfect. That last drive inside 2 minutes that ended up kind of costing the Eagles the game, certainly being a prime example of that, but I will give Patricia credit for taking full ownership of that in his first press conference on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I would take it all back. I mean, that drive starts with me, and I got to do a better job to get them, in position to get us off the field and obviously help us win. I think our guys played really, really hard. I was really, proud of the way they went out and, give praise to them for what they did. I thought, tried to play aggressive, tried to play physical up front, covered really well, and then obviously in the 2-minute drive, wasn't good enough, and that's me, and I got to get some, things in there or calls in there, whatever it may be, to help them a little bit more so they can go out. And, obviously they, give them credit too. They made a great play too. They're a good football team, and but I got to just do a better job.
So again, it's nice to see Patricia holding himself accountable there, and he also kind of held himself accountable for the whole situation with Darius Slay, as of course, a lot has been made of Patricia and Slay's relationship from their time together in Detroit, but it seems like any drama is in the past, as Patricia did his best to squash any of that on Thursday.
Man, I just gave him a big hug before I came in here too. It's really been awesome for me to, be back around Slay and really have an unbelievable relationship. He's a great guy. He's super kind, super funny. He's very determined. He's everything that that he is, and obviously just so appreciative of him, and our conversation that we had in the spring, and just helping me. Honestly, he's helped me a lot. He's in the spring, just kind of getting acclimated and just talking through. And honestly, he's one of the guys I knew coming in the building. And you know how it is when you go into a new building, you go someplace new and you're trying to learn people, you gravitate towards the ones you know. And, he out there with arms open and trying to, help me kind of, fit in and feel comfortable, which I really am very grateful to him for. And I think, just look, as you go through life and you grow and you learn and, hopefully improve and get better as a person, from me personally, where I was, whenever that was, I'm just trying to be a better person every day, and I'm just really thankful to him for that. We get into the season, and he was obviously knew, maybe the first game of the year or so was going to be a little bit tough for me, and he kind of was there and kind of made sure I was okay, and that was awesome. That was awesome. So I think, look, everybody tries to grow as people and sit down and come together and go forward, and that's what's been really, really awesome and cool, about it, and I love that, and I don't think all of us are ever our most perfect selves for our entire lives. I don't think that has ever happened. So it's good for me to be able to come back and build some of those relationships, the way that really, you want them.
Now, I don't know about you, but I personally love that entire answer from Matt Patricia. It just sounded really genuine, and I truly believed everything he said. And honestly, it does seem like he's grown a lot since his time in Detroit, so that's definitely very cool to see. And I do think it's very possible that the change from Desai going to Patricia as the play caller could fully end up paying off. But what do you guys think? Do you believe Patricia, and do you think he can turn this defense around? Now, ahead of the Eagles Christmas Day matchup with the Giants, we're going to have plenty more coverage leading into it. So again, if you don't want to miss any of that, subscribe and also turn on notifications. Also, drop a like down below on this video if you did enjoy. And if you want to watch another video recapping the Eagles' loss to the Seahawks, you can go check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.